Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Simone and today we're going to be talking about the second level of light body activation. In my last video we spoke about the first. I advise seeing that one before seeing this one. And just a quick recap, the first stage of light body activation involves activating light or more light within the cells, which basically tell the cells that they can now receive energy from light and not only from food. So in the second stage of light body activation, basically what's happening is that in our six-dimensional etheric body, there is a blueprint that is being held dormant for a while, right? But it is there, it's in all of us. And when this blueprint is activated, in other words, light begins to flood the six-dimensional blueprint. As it is activated, it switches on in us the recognition of love, universal love, or the beginning of the recognition of universal love, of oneness, of unity. And basically in the first level of, or the first stage of light body activation, it tells the cells that it's time to go home to unity. It's time to go home back to source. Whereas before they perceived themselves as separate, the first level lets them know that, hey, maybe it's not the way that I've imagined it to be, and then they start journeying back to the source, back to this oneness. Second level is basically just helping that process along, right? So this happens through the axiatonal meridians, which are basically just energy lines that run through the body. What happens is the etheric body is flooded with light. That light is then fed down into these meridians, or these lines that run through the body and feed into different energy points in the body. And then from those energy points, they feed into the cells, waking the cells up, giving more energy into the cells, and basically activating them, right? And also these lines also feed into our chakras, the smaller chakras, and into the bigger chakras. Those points of energy are just smaller chakras. When this happens, it activates in us a karmic kind of reenactment. So every karmic experience that we have had is then activated, and we are made to kind of experience it all again. Now, the way that I have come to understand this is as the dark nights of the soul. If you can imagine the dark nights of the soul, if you've been through it, or you know somebody who's been through it, you'll recognize that what happens with them is every bad thing that they have experienced, it can be in this life, it can be in past lives, it can be stuff that they don't understand, all coming up to the surface, and they don't understand why they have to see all of the stuff that they thought was already kind of healed. So this is what happened with me. I had 15 years of trauma resurfacing, big stuff, small stuff, all kinds of things. And I could not understand why I was being made to see all of this again, why I thought that I had healed it all, but there it was, playing itself out again in my life. And it was an extremely difficult period. So during the second level light body activation, it's not just activating on the physical level now, it's activating on the mental and emotional levels. It's drawing out of us all of that stored energy and that trauma on different planes of existence, in the energy body, in the etheric body, in the mental body, in the physical body, and it's drawing that out in order to be recognized and accepted and given, or giving us the opportunity to change our relationship to that information, to that past, to that karma, and releasing that energy so that the physical and the etheric bodies are then able to hold more light, more information. Okay, so the stronger these karmic ties, the more we will see them manifest. So the more this manifestation will kind of occur and play out in our lives, it's not fun. But when you understand why it's happening, you can kind of make peace with the fact that it's a necessary part of the process, right? And it can really make us feel, as the article explains, like we're on a seesaw, really topsy-turvy, back to front. Everything is upside down. We can't understand why it's happening, and life just seems to be collapsing around us. Everything that we believe to be true is just collapsing, and basically these old structures need to break down in order for the truth of who we are to be able to come through, right? It's not fun, but there isn't a thing that I would change when I look back on my own experience, because I know from outside of that experience how necessary it was. And if you are here watching this video, then you're aware already of the fact that this could be a necessary part of the process. And the awareness often makes it a lot easier than, for example, somebody who doesn't have any access to information or any clue that they are going through these changes. Okay, so we can also experience flu-like symptoms, fever, sweats, pain, muscular pain, tiredness, burning eyes. During this time, we also start doing much deeper introspection. We start asking questions like, who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose? What is the universe? All these deep existential questions. And what I equate it to is like an existential crisis. So during that dark night of the soul that I went through, I had a period of what felt like an existential crisis. What was an existential crisis? Questioning everything about my existence, and there being no answers, or seemingly no way for me to get those answers. But the questions kept coming, and the questions led to more depression because they just seemed impossible to answer. I didn't know anything about metaphysics at the time, or spirituality at the time. So seeing these questions and meeting these questions were really necessary, but really, really difficult. And I think as we start to kind of ask these deep questions, we start to recognize something beyond us. We start to see through experiences or through questioning or through whatever, more light flooding our being. We start to recognize the possibility of something more. And now we've been familiar with the soul for so long, but we start to question on a spirit level. Who is spirit? What is spirit? What role does spirit play in life? Am I spirit? We start to ask those kinds of questions. And basically, we start to connect with a light that is now undifferentiated, the spirit. We've been connecting with a light that is differentiated, the soul, which is basically just a separate part. It plays a specific role. The soul plays a specific role, but spirit is a part of the whole, right? So we've been experiencing ourselves as a separate part. Now we start to open up to the possibility of experiencing ourselves as the whole, as not just part of the whole, but as the whole. The spin of our mental, our emotional, our spirit, and our spiritual bodies starts to kind of increase, and it gets more and more uncomfortable during this time. And these changes are mostly happening on the etheric level, but they impact the physical level as they activate that DNA in our physical beings. So it's all very interconnected, and the second level is maybe not the most comfortable level, neither is the first, but the purpose of them is largely to release a lot of what we have been holding on to, a lot of this information that is no longer necessary as we start to journey home towards Source. I hope this video has been helpful for you, and I hope it kind of helps you to recognize where you are on your journey, or where you have been. When I first came across this information, I could recognize exactly each of the steps that I had journeyed through, and at the time I didn't understand them at all. But looking back and reading and studying and finding out this information, it was so much easier to kind of see why it was necessary and which point I was at each step of the journey. Please go ahead and leave a comment about your experiences, and also any insights that have come through for you. It's always interesting to connect on this topic. Also, if you haven't already, please hit the like button as well as the subscribe, and you can hit the bell as well, which will let you know when the next video will be out. I said in the first video that I won't necessarily be releasing one every week. It's just as I kind of move through, I will release them interchangeably, because I'm also working on the Tao Te Ching. So I'm doing a series of my reflections on that as well. So I'm simultaneously releasing videos on this and on that. So you can just hit the bell so that you get a notification whenever a video does come out. And I will see you guys on the next one. Have a beautiful one.